Okay. This is gonna be a longer video. I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible. It still might end up being, 20, 30 minutes. We'll see. Because I am doing a full NFL rankings right now, all 32 teams. My last one, I think it was like 32 minutes in total. That was the pre-NFL season. This one is basically the third of the way through. I'll do another one week 12, and then I will do another one right before the playoffs because we have 17 weeks. So after week 17, I'll do one kind of a playoff type ranking from there. And I won't have to do anything for the playoffs, but well, maybe I'll do something special for the playoffs and just do ranking all teams that go in or whatever. We'll see. Anyway, starting out. There's some teams like this that I can just, really quickly talk about and move on. So, Adam Gase sucks. Jets are last. Giants suck. Saquon's out. Their leading rusher, I believe, is Daniel Jones. Giants suck. 30, Bengals. There's a little bit to talk about here. I do like watching Joe Burrow play. But he needs a defense. He needs an O-line. You could argue, really, he needs better wide receivers. A.J. Green is, kind of wants out. He's wanted out for a couple years now. But there was a video surfacing that seemed to show him saying he wanted to be traded in that video. You could argue he needs wide receivers. Joe Mixon isn't bad in the backfield. And then... I think they have a really good tight end, I believe, or something. But, they need a lot of help. That defense especially needs a lot of help. But I think, give Joe Burrow 5 years, and if it's still the same Bengals, I think he's going to get traded, or I think he's going to leave. But I think if the Bengals get him help, I think they can be easily a way better team with Joe Burrow at QB. So that's 30. 29, Washington football team. I forgot to update this logo. Whoops. So this is their old logo, obviously the Redskins logo, which is now it's basically racist. So I forgot to add the other one in. Oh well. I'm just going to go with it for now. But Washington, they're a mess. They're just a total mess right now. I thought giving Haskins a second year would kind of help, especially with Ron Rivera as head coach. They kind of cleaned house basically and are starting over this year. Again, Haskins is in his second year. He got benched, and I think Kyle Allen is still the starter now. I don't think Haskins is even. I think it's like third string or something. So, they're a mess offensively and defensively, even with Chase Young too. It's still. I think he's hurt. I think he's still out. I don't know how long he's supposed to be out. He might be back. He's been kind of quiet. If he's been back, I don't remember hearing anything about him coming back. I do remember last thing I heard, which was like week 3, that he got hurt. So he might be back. He might not. I don't know. But he needs help on defense too. So that was 29, 28. The Jags, who started out this year looking like they could be a top 10 team. They played really good against the Titans. Yes, they lost to the Titans, but they played really good against them. And then, was it the Colts week 1 where Minshew only threw 1 incompletion? He was 19 of 20 the whole game. I think that was against the Colts. And then week 3 and week 4 hit, and they just looked terrible. They got I don't want to say blown out by the Dolphins, but they did really bad against the Dolphins. So they fell apart really quick. But what team hasn't with injuries? Have some injuries. I think was it DJ Chark just came back 2 weeks ago from like a 3 or 4 week long injury. So they're bottom of the list here. And Minshew just kind of fell off a hill, honestly, after week 2. Next, Browns. Me and my friend were kind of messing around with this in the old logo and just putting a dog on the side. I don't think it looks bad. I just kind of kept it there just because I had that. But Browns look good against bad teams. and then they play crappy against good teams. Steelers just demolished them. I thought this was going to be a close game. I actually had the Browns winning. I thought this was going to be, a tight game, win by a field goal. And Browns just showed that they just suck. So that's that. Broncos still down here, still really low. I had them 25 last time, and they are, I think, 26 or 27 now. Obviously, Von Miller got hurt. Drew Lock got hurt. I think they had a wide receiver get hurt. I think they had a running back get hurt. They had a lot of people get hurt week 2. And they finally got Drew Lock back last week, I believe. Week 6 is what I'm referring to. Last week is week 6. So I never believed the hype before the season. I still don't. They're just not really doing that good. So Broncos are here again, low on the list. Just like I had them in the beginning of the year, because I was not on the hype train at all. 26, so they moved down a spot. 25, the Falcons. I have them really low here. Obviously because first 5 weeks they had Dan Quinn as their head coach. He got fired after week 5. They just had a new head coach. Basically blew out the Minnesota Vikings. Was it 40-23 or something? I don't remember. But they basically blew them out. Kirk Cousins threw like 3 interceptions against that defense. They are still low because, again, this is first 6 weeks. This is coming off of, Dan Quinn being the head coach. I can't base everything off of just 1 week. Yes, Minnesota isn't that good. They are, I think they have 2 wins. 1 or 2 wins right now. I don't remember. I don't remember. But I think the future is bright. I think who their interim head coach is gonna do just fine until they basically replace Dan Quinn and find a new head coach this offseason. So right now they're low, but I think this interim head coach can do enough where they can get a couple wins here, and they can look better than what they then show their potential basically. Next, 24 Lions. I don't have a lot to say here. They beat teams like the Cardinals, and then they obviously lose to good teams. Which I thought the Cardinals were good. I had them as my sleeper pick before the year started for the Super Bowl, and then Cardinals lost to the Lions. Lions just not a lot to say. It's just their last 2 years they've been kind of just in about same where they normally are. Matt Patricia just is not the answer at all. I feel bad for Stafford. Stafford is a really good QB, but he just has coaches that just suck. Hopefully one day this team gets out of mediocrity, but for now they're living in the North's basement, in the NFC North's basement. So, next, San Francisco. They dropped from 1 on my list down to, 23? 23 on my list. Obviously, they had about 17 injuries week 2, or heading into week 2. They finally are now starting to get people back. Jimmy Garoppolo finally started to look better. Raheem Mostert came back, I think it was 2 weeks ago or whatever. But they are they 2-3 or 3-3? I don't remember. But I have them this low just strictly, again, this is looking at the first 6 weeks. They got blown out by Miami. They lost a whole bunch of people. They lost Nick Bosa for the year. They lost another D lineman for the year. Injuries literally killed this team. From being a top tier team, I had them number 2. I think I said 1 before. I had them number 2 behind the Chiefs before the year started, and then they dropped this far. They dropped 21 spots because of injuries and everything. They are probably still going to make the playoffs this year. They just won't be as tough as they were last year. I don't want to call last year a fluke, but the way again, the way the injuries fell and losing players, it's not going to look good for them. I don't know if they can really go deep in the playoffs this year, let alone they got to make the playoffs first. I mean, you have the Cardinals in the race, you have the Rams in the race, who they just beat last week, and then Seattle is probably the number one pick from the NFC for that number one seed right now. So, I mean, they're in the toughest division in the NFL right now. So, I mean, I believe they're sitting in fourth right now, too. So, it's going to be tough for them. But I think they can bounce back. But, I mean, it's just, it did not look good at all. Next, Dallas Cowboys. Where do I begin? Mike McCarthy is not the answer. That defense is playing trash. Whoever's coaching that defense is terrible. Should be fired. Players are not looking good. Obviously, you have Dak go out. Dak carried that team. Yes, they were 1-5, but they could easily be 0-6 without Dak. And it would be a lot worse games without Dak. Oh, wait, is it 2-6? 2-6. Excuse me, they beat the Giants. So they could easily be, 0-6, 1-6 against 1-6, 1-5 against in the whole, league. But they're still in the hunt for the playoffs. I think they lead the NFC East right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. They might be second, but I think they lead the East right now. By like a half a game or something like that. But it's a terrible division. But they are just shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over and over. It's not good at all. Zeke fumbled twice last week, and literally it was 38-10 at the end of the game last week. Same score as the Bucs and Packers. I mean, it was just bad for them. So they're gonna fall down. And if they somehow make the playoffs, they're losing week one, or wild card weekend, I should say, not week one. They're going to lose wild card weekend. Next, the Dolphins at, I think this is 21, I believe. This team kind of surprised me, honestly. They are right now second in the AFC East behind the Bills. They are either half a game or one game behind them right now for that lead spot. They just pulled Ryan Fitzpatrick out and replaced him with Tua. I don't like that. I'm probably going to have another video tomorrow talking about that. But I don't like it, especially because, again, they're still in that playoff hunt. They may not win the division, but you can still win a 5th, 6th, or 7th seed. But they pulled Tua. They pulled Fitzmagic and put in Tua. So we'll see what happens. But this team is, I think they're missing, a couple, 1 or 2, maybe even 3 pieces, and I think they could be, a contender, honestly. I think they're going under everyone's radar right now. I don't think anyone figured they would be second in the NFC, or AFC East, excuse me. But that just, comes with the Patriots' downfall, too. So, but I think, they're better than people give them credit for. But I don't like that move of pulling Fitzpatrick out and putting in Tua. I don't, especially with Fitzmagic playing as good as he is. So, we'll see what happens. Right now, they are at, I believe this is 21. Yep, 21. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to 20, Carolina Panthers. I don't buy into their hype. I really don't. They sucked against the Bears. They play close games. I think they're like 2-3 right now, or 3-3. I don't know. Teams like this, I don't pay a lot of attention to, but they don't feel good to me. They don't look like they're clicking on offense and defense. They don't look like a good team. But they are better than a lot of these teams under them. So I can give them credit for that. But I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be like that good. I, even with CMC back, I don't see it. I really don't. But maybe this second half or going into this, 2/3 left of the season, maybe they'll prove me wrong. But right now, I just don't see them as a good team. Moving into number 19, the Vikings. Wow. I had them at 8 or 9 in my playoffs, in my rankings before the season. So they basically fell about 10 spots here, 10, 11 spots. They are struggling. Justin Jefferson is a bright spot on that team. That defense, the corners are young. They finally are starting to get people back. Danielle Hunter is back. But, Kirk Cousins threw, what did I say before? I think I said 3 interceptions before. Thielen isn't getting targeted a lot. I think Justin Jefferson even leads, receiving yards. He's has more receiving yards than Thielen. It's just, they're not clicking. That offense is just sucking. They just are not doing good at all. I thought they would be in the playoffs. I really thought, it'd be the Packers and Vikings from the NFC North. Loser gets the 5th seed, winner gets, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th seed. But the Bears just, came out of nowhere and just, Vikings just tanked. Vikings are tanking, Bears are shooting up again. So it's just, this team is just not doing good at all. I have a feeling they are going to start tanking. We'll see. Again, we're only a third of the way through the season, so things can change around. Nothing is set in stone yet. But for now, they are just here at 19 because they're doing terrible. Next. The Glass Cannon Eagles. I got to give Carson Wentz credit. He's playing with backups. He's playing with practice squad. He's just playing with a bunch of people they're taking off the streets. They do not have healthy receivers, or receivers that can stay healthy. Carson Wentz is doing what he can. They almost came back against the Baltimore Ravens. If they would have came back against the Baltimore Ravens, I would have probably had them top 15. They're here at 18. They're struggling. They tied the Bengals. It's just they're just not doing good at all. And yet, I believe they're in second place for the NFC East. So this it's a terrible division. We have a lot of ball game left for this division. I think Philly is probably going to win it. But they're just not playing good at all. So if they lose to the Giants this Thursday, really tomorrow, because I'm recording this on Wednesday. I don't know what day I'm putting this up. But if they lose to the Giants on week 7 for Thursday night, that's going to say a lot about them. That's going to say just how bad this division is. They're glass cannon. They really are. Next, Patriots. If they did not have Cam Newton, they would be in that 25 to 30 range. Cam Newton is literally a bright spot for this team, and he's helping them a lot. They lost to the Broncos last week, 18-12, I believe it was, and they went 2 weeks without Cam Newton, where they probably would have beat the Chiefs, and then I think it was San Francisco they played was the other week. They probably would have won both of those games if Cam Newton was on the team, but without Cam Newton, they're just trash. But I got him up this high because Cam Newton really just helps this team a lot. So there's not a lot to say here. It's really the Cam Newton's Patriots. Next. The Texans. They are 1-5, I believe. They just lost to the Titans after the Titans came back and brought the game into OT. And if you have not seen that coin toss, Watson's reaction during the coin toss, as soon as they lost, or he lost the coin toss, he knew instantly that the game was over because he knew it was never going to touch the ball. Because that's how the NFL rules are, is, first team to score a touchdown wins. So Watson knew instantly they lost that game. I love his reaction to it. So if you have not seen that, look up Texans and Titans coin toss, OT coin toss for 2020, and you'll see his reaction. It's priceless. Next, 15. The Cardinals. Now, they have fallen about 5 spots in my rankings, strictly because they beat San Francisco week 1, but they've lost to the Lions. And I don't know how to rank them. They just beat the Cowboys. Obviously, the Cowboys suck. But I don't know how to rank this team. They're all over the board. Obviously, they didn't have Budda Baker for a couple weeks, who was a big threat against the Cowboys Monday night, this past Monday night. So I think a healthy Cardinals squad is going to go deep in the playoffs. But I think, a squad where they, what was that, like week 2 through 4 or something like that, I believe, they had a couple losses. If it's a squad like that, they're not going to go far at all. They might not even make the playoffs. So I still have them as my sleeper pick for the Super Bowl, to make the Super Bowl, but they're really inconsistent right now, and I don't consider a win against Dallas to be good. Dallas is really bad, so they should have squashed them. Next, the Rams at 14. Another logo I didn't really update. This team lost against the Bills, who are going to make playoffs. They lost to the 49ers, again, who are coming back and getting some players off of injuries. I don't know what to think of them. I thought they were good, and then they lost to the Bills. They did come back 28-3 and still lost. But they just did not look that good. In my personal opinion, they didn't look that good against San Francisco, even though I think they lost by was it a touchdown, I believe. So it wasn't a blowout loss, but I just think they're missing a piece or two to be really good again. Like that, what was that 2018? That was 2018. That was 2 years ago. That Super Bowl run. So next, the Saints. They fell from, what did I have them, like 5 or 6 down to 13. No Michael Thomas. He wants out, really. Drew Brees is looking old. That team is just relying on Kamara a lot. Even that defense isn't that good. They're an okay team. They lost to the Raiders. Who else? I think they lost to. They lost to the Packers. They almost lost to the Chargers. I think they came back from that one down like 14 or something like that. I don't remember exactly how many points it was, but they came back for that win. So they just look like they're struggling, honestly, against decent teams. So I don't know what happened to last year's Saints team, unless it was a fluke. So there's not a lot to talk about there. So moving on to the Chargers. This is a big shocker. I had them down in about 24, something like that, and they're up here in 12. Justin Herbert is amazing. He might be the best QB in this draft class. Now, obviously, this is really early. Again, Joe Burrow might look better. Tua might look better in the future, but right now, Justin Herbert looks like the best pick from the draft. He turned a okay-ish Chargers team into a team that took the Chiefs to overtime, almost beat them. We're leading a lot of the game against the Saints. They played some really tight games. I think they've only lost. I think the largest loss was like 7 points against the team. So they play really tight games and really good games. So it's a big shocker for me. They've turned into a really decent team. Next, the Raiders. This one, it kind of shocked me. They played really good against the Chiefs. They won by 14 because Mahomes threw a pick. They are coming off of their bye, and they're going to face a hot Tampa Bay team this week. So if they can beat Tampa this week, they are going in my top 10. Because this team is just, it's kind of a little bit flying on the radar, a little bit. They are more noticed than a team like the Chargers. But, I mean, I think they are just pretty good. And I think they have a chance of fighting for a playoff spot. I did a playoff rankings, which I believe is going to probably come out this Saturday. Like I said, I got to tweak a couple things in it. But I had them making the 6th seed. So, I mean, I think that they can push for that. If they sweep the Chiefs, they have a chance of probably winning this division. But again, they got to keep pace with the amount of wins as the Chiefs. But I think their division, the AFC West, could come down to them and the Chiefs, and I think it's like a Week 15 game or something like that. So they are really good. If they beat up Tampa, I think that cements them as a top 10 team, in my opinion. Next, Buffalo Bills at number 10. They looked good the first couple weeks. They were, I think they went 4-0, I believe. And then they lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Titans first, and then they lost to the Chiefs. Titans manhandled this team. Titans had about 2 weeks off because of COVID. They had I think it was like 6 or 7 coaches and players test positive or something like that. So they were gone for 2 weeks, had 2 weeks rest and whatnot. But I mean, the Bills just did not look good against the Titans. And then again, they lost to the Chiefs. That one was a little bit closer. And you could really say that they had to prepare for either the Chiefs or the Titans. So, you kind of got to split the playbook between who you're going to play first. So, you could say that's why they really got manhandled by the Titans. But against the Chiefs, they didn't do much better. It was a lot closer game. But they earned a top 10 spot over the Raiders. They're good, but they're not, they're not a Super Bowl team. They're a playoff team, but they're not a Super Bowl team quite yet. I just feel like they're still missing a couple pieces. I think that defense, against Mahomes, he tore through that defense. Again, Titans did too. So we'll see what happens later down the line, but they have back-to-back losses, which is not it's not good. Number 9, the Colts. You could argue the Colts are the best defense in the league. They are not my pick. My pick is coming up later in the rankings here because I'm going to go a little faster because this is about probably 20-some minutes in already. But they have a really good defense. They beat the Bears. The Bears are a really good team, as much as I hate to say that. But I think, you just get a really good wide receiver because T.Y. Hilton has fallen off a hill. It's fallen off a cliff, excuse me. He's not as good as he used to be. I think, if they have a really good, number 1 wide receiver, I think this team becomes top 5. Phillip Rivers is surprisingly playing pretty good with him. I think they are 4-2 or something like that. But I think they're, a pretty decent team right now, and I think they are playoff bound. Next, the Packers. I had them at 4 or 5, and they dropped down to 8 here, just strictly because of how underprepared we played against the Bucs. I have my full in-depth opinions about talking about that. I don't think we should have had Mike Pettin this year. I think it should have been gone during the NFC Championship game last year. But we have him this year. He just did not play. Like, defense sucked. Offense sucked. I got to move him down the list. I don't think, in my opinion, as a Packer fan, as an unbiased Packer fan ranking them, they are not top 5 right now. They showed that against a team that is probably going to win the division because now the Saints aren't, showing what they showed last year. So, I mean, they're just, they fell apart. And hopefully they rebound. Hopefully we come back, beat up on the Houston Texans. We have the 49ers coming up. Colts are coming up. We play the Titans towards the end of the year. We have a lot of good teams coming up. We have to be able to beat them. Now, again, the San Francisco, you could say, is not a great team anymore. But I think you still got to be a little bit scared of them, even though, again, I had them at 25 or whatever. But I think you still got to be a little scared of them. But this Packers team is just... it needed to be humbled, and we got humbled. Pretty good, too. So that's why they're number 8 on this list. Number 7 is the Bucs. Now, the win against the Packers, really lost against the Bucs, I should say, put it this way. It felt like more of the Chargers game versus, losing to San Francisco last year. But I think the Bucs are still good. They lost to the Bears on Thursday night on a short week. Brady did not know what down it was. Holding up four fingers. So I mean, this Bucs team is looking okay. They already lost to the Saints week 1. I mean, they're good, but again, they lost to the Bears. They lost to a division rival. So if they lose to the Saints again, I think the Saints have a chance of winning this division, and then you could not even see the Bucs make the playoffs. We'll see what happens there, but who knows? So that's them. Next, 6. I don't want to talk about the Bears. Bears are good. Bears are good. That defense is scary. They're leading the NFC North right now. They're good. I hate praising the Bears, obviously being a Packers fan. But they are good. They are pretty good. And they beat up on the Bucs. Obviously, it was only by 1 point. But they still beat the Bucs. But who else have they played? Number 5, Titans. They're good. They are really good. This team, again, they came off of that break. Well, they're undefeated still. They play the Steelers this weekend. But they're pretty good. They beat up the Bills. They play the Steelers this weekend, so that's going to be a good matchup. I think overall they're starting to put the pieces together. I think this is going to be a deep playoff team. Last year they made it to the AFC Championship game when no one expected them to. I think you got to expect a deep playoff run from them this year. They're still undefeated. This is not that 9-7 Titans team. This is a better team. Now, this is a team that could go 11-5, 12-4. I mean, they really could. We'll see what happens, but I mean, this team could be a threat down the line. I think that defense is probably the weakest point in this team. I mean, they can just give the ball to Derrick Henry on offense, and Derrick Henry just does the rest. But I think overall, I think they're still, a pretty good team. Number 4, Seattle. Now, I have them this low because their defense sucks. They were basically in a shootout with New England. They were basically in a shootout with the Cowboys. I mean, Russell was literally keeping them in the game. Russell to DK Metcalf and Lockett. That's it. That's keeping them in the game is that offense. So, I mean, they would be number 1, but that defense just is sucky. They are just not good at all. So, they're still top 5. They're still really good. Russ makes this team really good. But that defense is this weak point. Yes, they are still undefeated. But they play the Cardinals this weekend. Last year, they either split or lost both games against the Cardinals. I don't remember which. but I mean, divisional matchups, it's a lot tougher than a normal matchup. So we'll see what happens this weekend if they lose to the Cardinals or not. But I think they're still a pretty good team. Baltimore Ravens. I was debating about switching them with the Seahawks and who was number 5? Oh yeah, Titans. I was debating about even switching them and putting them on number 5 too. As a complete team, they're better than the Seahawks. So that's. I mean, even though they did lose to the Titans in the divisional round last year, I think this is still a good team. But I mean, they almost lost to the Eagles, so I think there's a little bit of worry if you're a Baltimore fan. Again, I struggled a little bit, but I ended up putting them again over Titans and Seahawks just strictly because I just feel like they look a little better. I think that defense is probably a little bit better than the Titans. Maybe obviously offense, Lamar Jackson. You have Hollywood Brown. Mark Ingram in the backfield. I mean, you have weapons on that team. So I just think they're a little bit better. Obviously, Titans are more so run based, whereas Lamar Jackson can throw if he wants to throw. So I do have them at 3, but they could go as high as 5 right now. They just don't look as good as they did last year. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs at 2. If you have been paying attention, you probably know who 1 is. 1 is a very good team, but the Kansas City Chiefs, they're good, but they lost to the Raiders. I think losing to the Raiders, I think that gave a lot of teams the formula of how to beat them. They played really close against the Chargers. This team, they just got Le'Veon Bell too, who plays. He's going to start playing this week 7. So I think this team is good. That defense, again, is a little sketchy. That defense is not as... I don't think they don't look as good as they did last year, in my opinion. Again, they're still... I mean, with Patrick Mahomes on your team, you still have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, McCole Hardman, Sammy Watkins. Who am I missing? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I believe. I think I'm missing a wide receiver too. But they still have weapons on offense. But I think the defense is what gets them in trouble, and I think that's why you got to get down there, or you got to keep the Chiefs off the field, because they can score quick. They strike fast. We saw this last year in pretty much all the playoffs. Down 20-10 in the Super Bowl, down 24-0 in the Texans game, down, was it 17 in the Titans game? So, I mean, this team, they can come back quick. But, I think that Raiders loss shows them that they can be beat. I think it does. Raiders. I think I said Ravens. Raiders is what I meant. But the new number 1 team in my rankings this year is the Steelers. Oh my God, what a team. I think this is probably one of the most balanced teams in the NFL right now. Their defense is scary. This team lets up, I think it's either the first or second for rushing yards allowed. I think it's like 3.0 on the dot or something like that. They're up there. Their defense, that front is scary. Their corners, again, they're not... Corners aren't as good, but I think they're good enough. Make QBs throw, and if you get pressure up there, this defense is just something else. It really is. And then on offense, Big Ben is back and healthy. Juju is back and healthy. Chase Claypool was one amazing pick. I think Justin Jefferson's better, but if you could probably put Chase Claypool as the second best rookie in this draft class this year. James Conner, is it 4 games of over 100 yards or something like that? I think they're stacked. This may not be as many, well-known players, but I think this team is kind of young. this team is just looking really good. This is one threat you do not want to face. I will be talking about it in my predictions for Week 7 when they go up against the Titans. But I mean, it's literally going to be a clash of the Titans. It's going to be two really good teams, two undefeated teams. And I still haven't picked. I'm recording this before I record the picks, and I still haven't picked who I want to win this game. But I just think this is going to be a really good game. I think this is a fun team to watch. They are a really good team. Steelers are the most complete, and I think they are one of the few teams that can beat the Chiefs. I really do. I think, you're going to get pressure. I think they have like 16 sacks on defense or something like that. 15, 16. I think they're up there for sacks too. So, I mean, this team is good. They're really good. So that's what I'm going to close it on. There's not much more to talk about this team. I love this team. This team is scary. It's a threat. This is going to be a deep playoff team. But for now, if you're stuck around this long, like the video, share the video around. Don't forget to subscribe. Can't wait for this 5-0 matchup. Two undefeated teams, and we are out of here. Peace.